Hey, welcome to the BJJ Talks podcast, a podcast about the students of Lake County Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where they share their experiences as they navigate through Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Lake County BJJ is located right in Mundelein, Illinois. If you want more information, please visit us at lakecountybjj.com. This week, we talked to Coach Alexis, a longtime student with us for the past 8 years. She's a purple belt. She's also an assistant kids instructor. She's a mother of two. She has a small business, plus she has a full-time job. You get to hear how her and her husband are able to balance this crazy schedule because her kids who also do jiu-jitsu with us also have activities outside of jiu-jitsu. Her oldest, Ethan, just joined our staff as a junior instructor in our kids program. He's been training with us since he was about 8 years old. You get to hear all that, plus her youngest, Bella, has also been training with us for the past few years. It's a great conversation. You get to hear, again, how she's able to balance all this craziness, the positive impact that jiu-jitsu's had on her and her kids' lives and the bonding and everything. Again, it's a great conversation. You know, you get to hear why she started. I thought I knew, but this was something I never heard about, so it kind of took me by surprise a little bit, and it might take you by surprise too. Like I said, it's a really fun episode. Had a great time, so I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
As ready as can be.
I don't do an introduction.
You don't?
No, because I'll do that after.
Oh yeah, I don't care.
I'll just do that after. I'm not like, oh, I'm here with Alexis. Who's that?
Just can't.
You know, like, hey. No. I'm not that good at this. So we're in the process of moving everything. Mm-hmm. Or not, we want to start, but it's a mess in there, so that's why I start doing these out here.
Yeah, because you were not in video before.
No,
so that was
it's easier. It's easier because we can put it out in places.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a couple people I'm gonna interview soon.
Ooh.
Or have on there. Or talk to.
Who else?
Yuri. Oh. And hopefully can get Jenny Rowe back.
She did one of these?
Yeah. When she first started. Not when first started, but around there.
I think I remember that. Seeing it out there.
Yeah, she was overthinking everything.
Yeah. Like before, during the podcast? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's Jenny Rowe.
Oh, Jenny.
All right, so how long have you been doing it? Just introduce yourself. Just be like, I'm Alexis or something. Or a fake name.
And this is not my real voice. So, well, I'm sure you've met me before.
Yeah.
My name's Alexis, and I'm currently a purple belt in the gym.
Yeah.
I'm also helping out with the kids' classes, so kind of helping with the coaching for the little ones. I've been doing this I was trying to do the math, and I think it's been about 8 years that I've been doing jiu-jitsu.
Okay. Sounds about right.
Yeah. So I think Ethan and I started somewhere June, July, about 8 years ago, because he just turned 16, and he started when he was 8. So I guess.
Okay.
I guess that's my math right there.
It's better than I did. Because somebody asked me, they're like, how long has Ethan been here? I'm like, I don't know, 5 years? I don't know.
Yeah, no, he's been doing it for 8 as well.
So. Ethan's your son.
Yes.
Ethan's your son, who works here now. I got to give him his first job, I guess, right? He's helping with the kids' classes. He helps with the beginner kids' classes. So I think him and Chloe have been the kids have been here the longest. Chloe started when she was 4. No, she started when she was 3 or something.
What?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's what I was doing, 3 to 4 year olds.
Okay.
And then she came in and hasn't left.
3 to 4
and I've been
years
trying,
old?
No.
Why? Why would you even do that? I mean, me dealing with 5 years old, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, the 3 or 4 year old class, it was okay. I think the expectations for the parents in that age group was a little high. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, they're 3 to 4 year old. If they're getting in fist fights, you should probably switch schools. What the goal of that class was to, I don't know, just kind of have them get on the mat, mess around, play some games. learn technique, but through like, little games and stuff.
Yeah.
But like parents would get mad that they're not learning like arm bars or something. And I'm like, she can't even like walk straight. Like, are they even potty trained?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's one of the things we had to do. I'm like, they had to be potty trained. But that was a struggle for that class. It was fun at times, but those classes only did it for like a half hour.
Okay.
And some parents were like, half hour? And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Their attention
Yeah,
is
you
not
can't,
any longer than that. Even 45 minutes sometimes is hard to like
We used to
keep
do
the
an
kids'
hour.
attention. Yeah.
We used to do an hour, and we switched over years ago to 45 minutes. Because the hour was just, if I figured like, okay, we're doing an hour, I mean, like it was like the last 10, 15 minutes of it was them like playing a game. And I'm like, well, they're only really doing like 45 minutes of class anyway, so might as well just do the 45 minutes of class and not have a game unless they're really, really good or something as a reward. So you've been here for 8 years.
Yes.
So why'd you want to start? I'm always curious about why I want to start, because I always tell people why I wanted to start. I always wanted to learn something cool.
Something cool. Well, my story, I think, it has a little bit of a darker beginning.
Oh boy.
Yeah, super dark. No, but in reality, about 8 years ago, I used to work with this guy, and he had a situation where, unfortunately, an ex-girlfriend was a victim of a break-in at her apartment, and
where do they live?
I can't remember if it was like Wheeling or something. I mean, this was.
It wasn't even a bad area.
No,
is what I'm trying to say.
No, it wasn't.
Like this
no,
stuff
it
can
wasn't
happen
like.
at any. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't like Southside, like kind of. So this guy had. This girl was his ex-girlfriend for years, right? And it was a really cool guy about my age. And at some point, he kind of didn't show to work for like a week or so, over a week, and another
slacker.
Right. We're like, what the heck? And then this other guy who also worked with me and was friends with him, kind of let us know that he was taken in by the cops for questioning. And that's when he found out that his ex-girlfriend had, unfortunately, was the victim. It was one of those bad situations that you hear about.
Okay, whoa, hold on. Your coworker wasn't dating this girl.
No.
Who got called in? He did?
He did, because he was a person of interest.
Why would he be a person of interest?
Because he was, in a way, at some point in a relationship with this girl.
Oh, okay.
So the girl, the girl passed. The girl was, unfortunately killed after this break-in. So,
are you serious?
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, she lived in the.
God.
From what I understand, she lived in this condo area, right? Unfortunately, there was another condo that had people with, questionable background.
Sure,
they were
yeah.
monitoring her. She had a roommate. They waited until the roommate was out, and then this guy who was following her broke in. Unfortunately, it was not a good situation. So bottom line, I found out this situation was happening through what was happening to my coworker, right?
Okay.
I like seeing him go through that, and you lost a friend, an ex-girlfriend, you lose somebody in life, right? And then you have guilt. Like he started feeling guilty because what if I stay with her? What if I didn't lose touch with her?
Okay.
What, all those things happen.
Yeah.
So it was a really effed up situation, which got me thinking, right? I mean, 8 years ago, Ethan was really little. I don't think Bella, my daughter, I don't think she was on the horizon yet. But it got me thinking, or maybe she was, no, I don't know, it was like right around the time when Bella was born too. So I have, young kids, and I've never been in a fight in my life before, okay? Mind you, I'm like over 30 at this point in life, right? And it got me questioning, like, what would I do if something were to happen to me? I mean, I'm already at a disadvantage, not only because I don't know how to fight, but I'm a woman, I mean, I'm not as strong as any dude. And it got me thinking, what would I do? I don't know anything other than pulling hair and scratch somebody, but that's not gonna take me far.
Right.
Even if I get that in place. So I started to kind of look for ways to get some kind of self-defense training.
Okay.
You know, and I was looking through, you know, the police department, and, you know, you had those 4-hour sessions that
Yeah.
were booked, you know, months in advance and all that stuff. So, and while doing my research, I found your gym, which was really close to my house.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are still close to my house, right? Just in the other direction. So I decided to kind of give it a try. And with Ethan going to school too, I mean,
Yeah.
unfortunately, kids can be butts as well. So I figure it would be a good way for him to kind of be more prepared going to school in the event some jerky kid came up to him or something like that, right? So yeah, that was kind of the beginning of my jiu-jitsu journey. Like I say, it's kind of dark side.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know this. I didn't know this at all.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you don't think about, but it does put things into perspective.
Did they ever catch that guy? Did they ever catch the guy
Know. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it was like, unfortunately, it was one of those like undocumented people that, you know, had like kind of sketchy background, and you know, it was just an unfortunate situation. Not the best outcome, obviously, but I guess that was my catalyst to like look for something.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and I don't stress that enough, but it's important for women to be able to do something for themselves.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for years and my body's all messed up, but if in the event that something were to happen, at least I have some kind of confidence that I can do something, even if it's just make space.
Yeah.
Right? Or, you know, unfortunately with that situation, you think about, if I was put in this position, how do I get out? Right? And you start thinking about, you know, well, how do I get out of mounting position to get into a better place? Or, you know, like, if you have that little bit of technique as background, then you can start thinking about how to apply it in the event that something were to happen.
You get put in those positions enough, you're gonna be comfortable in the sense of like, you know what to do, you have a path of an escape. And like, you know, the world at large doesn't know Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Mm-hmm. So whatever little jiu-jitsu that you know, even when you first start, it's going to take you a long way, right?
Yeah.
Like, I would always do intro lessons for people, and the one thing I would show them at the very end was a mount escape. Mm-hmm. Because I know the last thing that they're going to learn, they're always going to stick with them. And then I'm like, well, this is going to be the last thing, because I purposely did that. So they remember, so just in case, you know, get in that position, at least they can get out, or have an idea of getting out, and hopefully something, right? Like you said, create space at least.
Yeah.
I always say that to people when they like first learn. I'm like, your thing is to create space. That's your first thing, because you don't know anything. Mm-hmm. You need to get away from people, and I don't think people understand. I think people overestimate what they can do.
Yeah.
At least guys do. And some women do, I guess, but guys that overestimate what they can do. And I'm like, no, just make space.
Yeah.
When you start doing jiu-jitsu, you can take space away, and then you can start doing some things. But even in a situation like that, like I wouldn't, depending on the person, right? Like, but I wouldn't, like, I would just make space and get away myself. Yeah. Like, even though I've been doing this for like 20 years, I would still, make space. I don't feel like messing around right now. Like, I just want to get away from me. But yeah, that's damn. So with Ethan, he started off, and then he started to kind of like, what changes have you seen in Ethan? Let's concentrate on Ethan. What have you seen anything? Because I know he started off, he's still the same kid as he was when he was 8, I feel like. Obviously, he just got bigger. I feel like his attitude.
It's the hair.
It's the hair. But he was kind of like the same kid. Like, he hasn't changed, but in a sense of like, I've seen him change in a way of like, even when teaching classes now, like I can see that. Like, what other changes have you seen in Ethan, if any?
With Ethan, I feel like he's gone through stages, right? So when he first started, he was like super excited or whatever. He was really into competing.
Sure, yeah.
Right? So that's one of the things, and that's part of the reason why I did any competition or the first competition with them.
Yeah.
To have that, because, there is something important, it's something that develops when you're doing something with your kids,
Sure.
especially like jiu-jitsu. With Bella too, right? Not only are they not able to, I'm able to call them on bullshit, like, I don't want to do this because,
Right.
I can be like, that's bullshit,
I've done it.
Right. I know it's not that difficult, and I'm sorry about my, sorry.
Sorry.
So, but then there's a bond that happens, right, with that. And I've seen it with Bella, I've seen it with Ethan, and that's one of the things that I really appreciate about being able to do the sport with my kids here, right? So Ethan, in the beginning, he wanted to compete more. We did it together. He did it a few times, and I actually learned from him because I asked him, like, why are you so motivated to compete? Because I'm not a competitive person.
Right.
Like, I shy away from competitions kind of thing, right? And I remember he was really little. And he said, you know what? I just want to see how I stand with other people. Like, it's just like a learning tool for me. And I was like, what?
That's really mature.
I know. I mean, I was surprised that he would say that. And now he's changed a little bit. He's moved away from that a little bit. I think after working some other tournaments and seeing how aggressive like some of the kids his age can be when moving brackets, I feel like he's become a little bit more reserved when it comes to that.
Sure, yeah.
So, which tells me he's more aware of his surrounding, he's more aware of his capabilities, and he's thinking about what his next move is going to be. And I respect it. You know, I mean, there's some kids that are not really going to be competitors their whole life. There's Bella did the one in house. She got third. She's like, I'm out. I'm like, all right. And it helps you kind of refocus and see what your goals or their goals are going to be. As long as they're doing this, I don't really care if they're competing or not, because my goal is self-defense. And I've told them before, like, you can do whatever you want. You can do dance, you can do soccer. Jiu-Jitsu is not anything that we're going to talk about. Like, that's going to be ongoing forever. So they know that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's how passionate I am about this being part of our lives.
Okay.
And it could be from that event that kind of like set everything in motion, right? Bella's a girl. She needs to defend herself. Ethan, it's high school. You never know what kind of kid you're going to run into. So it's kind of like a given for us. So he's moved from being really competitive to not so much, to now being in an environment where he's developing like skills in life, like teaching other kids, right? He's now learning to be a little bit more patient, or we have different kids that come here with different capabilities or not. So you have to start understanding how to navigate those people, how to treat people the way they deserve to be treated, how to pinpoint a kid that's going to be a troublemaker, and now he has to be in a disciplinary role and be like, now you're going to do 30 push-ups. So it's kind of like helping him develop into like the person that he's going to be. Now he's in high school, right? He's thinking about what he's going to do in life when he graduates or whatever. So I feel like all these things that he's learning here, he's taking them in and potentially gonna apply them in the future, for his work setting, dealing with other kids, dealing with other people. So I've seen him more mature, obviously mature because of age, but also because of the experiences that he's had here. I feel like being able to understand what other types of people are out there is a great tool. You can't just go around life being oblivious to, what kind of person you're dealing with, and you're setting your expectations based on your assessment, with that person. So I think he's his growth right now from a competitive standpoint, very physical. It's more like internal.
Yeah.
And kind of like developing into
That's-
kind of like what he's going to be as a grown up.
As an instructor that's what I like, right? Like I'm super. We had the same thing with Janice, right? Janice was other who came to and she started helping and stuff. It's like you, as an instructor, that's what you strive for, right? Like you want these kids to come in and learn whatever they learn from here and apply it out there because you can, right? Like there's people out there nowadays now, like, they're loud mouths and they're like, no, this doesn't do that. It's like, no, I've seen it. It's because you haven't seen it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? And I think people only speak from their own perspective. That just means like whatever you're doing, it might work, yeah, but I want to do it this way. And I want the kids to take a role here and teach, right? Some might like it, some might not, but you're going to learn something from it, right? You're going to learn public speaking, like you said. You're going to be learning how to deal with like different personalities. It's happened with me. Like I have to learn how to deal with different personalities and be able to juggle them, and like I could talk to a person this way, but I can't talk to this person this way. But I still, in the core of everything, I'm still the same person. Is just a little, But with him, it's when I see that, I see the confidence grow, and I see the way when he's teaching. I've seen him teach. He's very much more confident than he was when he first started. Obviously, right?
Yeah.
And that's just going to develop because now if he becomes, he's going to go to school. He's going to have to make a speech. He's going to have to go out on stage. He's going to have to do something in front of people. It doesn't matter because if you do it now at an early age, all that stuff is not going to matter to him. And those are life skills that are actual life skills, right? Like those are like public speaking, dealing with different personalities, discipline people if you have to. If you're in a leadership role, you're in a leadership role. These kids are looking up to you.
Yeah.
You kind of have to set the example, et cetera, et cetera. Those are actual life skills, not. Yeah. Obviously, there's certain things that the kids need to learn, but like I shouldn't be I always have the person I'm like, I shouldn't really be the first. If your child, if it's the first time your child's ever heard thank you and you're welcome, then that's on you, not me. You know, and I shouldn't be the first person to do that. I should be the first. I should be the person that emphasizes that. Be like, say thank you, you're welcome. Yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am.
Yeah.
It's things like that. But those life skills are actual legit life skills, and that's what I like seeing from Ethan. That's the change that I've seen in him when he's become, when he's started to teach, right? Even with Janice too, like Janice kind of broke out of her shell. You know what I'm saying? Like, like she broke out of her shell with everything. She was always reserved. She's still reserved, but like she's more like, it's more like that. And, it's always good to see so with Bella, you just wanted to, because she was a girl, right? You just wanted to get her in.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same thing. I think I just like made it a point to make it a family thing, you know, and also for her to understand that girls don't have to fit in a certain box.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not the girliest of girls you'll ever meet, as you see.
Yeah.
But and unfortunately, that's another thing that you see with little kids too. Like, there's some moms that are really focused on pageants, on pretty costumes and dances, and that's great. If that's your calling, that's great.
More power to you.
But to me, there's something beautiful about being strong and finding your own strength, right? If you want to be a ballerina, great. But I want you to be able to defend yourself too. I mean, Bella has done ice skating, she's doing dance, whatever. So, but I wanted her to understand that she can be strong and not necessarily just fall this, Barbie looking type of path in life. So it was more of a combination for her because, I want her to be able to defend herself, but also find her inner strength and appreciate strength as part of, your beauty. You might not be a size 0, nowadays, but you're going to be able to hold your own weight and put your foot down if somebody tells you to do whatever, I want her to be able to be like, nope,
Right.
I don't want to do it, or that's not right. And I think that was another thing for both kids. I want them to be able to just hold their footing and be like, this is wrong. I'm being pushed to do this. I know it's not the right thing. I'm going to say no. And I want them to be able to just
Stand up for themselves.
yeah.
Okay.
And just,
Have that
stand
confidence
behind
to stand
that.
up for themselves. Yeah.
Definitely.
That's like a common theme that we get from when we ask for feedback from the adults. It's like it's a weird, not a weird thing, but I don't know. I've always said, it's kind of a bad way of looking at it, but it's a very rudimentary way, and that's the way I think is if you can walk, it's very, very empowering in a way. If you can walk into a room and know like, oh, I can manhandle everybody in this room,
Yeah.
right? But that you're not going to do it. You're not going to walk in, but you need to have
Yeah.
that level of confidence. And when you have that level of confidence, you're going to stand up for yourself, right? You know, like, dude, like, no, shut up. Like, I'm not going to do that. That's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. No, don't talk to me like that,
Yep.
et cetera, et cetera. And I guess it's a little bit different with guys, but I've seen it with women too, who've, again, give us feedback and like getting bullied at work, and this guy thinks he can do something to me. He can say something, it's like, no, screw him, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's because of jiu-jitsu. Like, they're like, it's because of jiu-jitsu. I stood up for myself because I know what's right, what's wrong, and who are you? Like, but again, it gets that confidence. Like, who are you? If you want to escalate this, we could escalate it. You know, like,
yeah.
but that's that level of confidence that they can reach in a spur of the moment if they have to.
Yeah.
They're not going to, because everybody here is a normal person, right? They're not going around going, I'm going to beat everybody up.
Yeah.
No, it's like, no, I have that level of confidence just in case, because this is getting heated here.
Yeah.
We're getting heated here.
Yeah.
Like, we can keep going or we can stop it. And I'm going to stop it. And then we, as jiu-jitsu people, we're like, all right, man, like, let's just stop. This is dumb. It's just like unfortunately, sometimes, when you're sparring, it gets a little heated because of the competitiveness, right? And like, some people are just, all right, man, I'm done. Done with this right now. I'm done. This is escalating. Women do it, men do it. So it's not like, and I respect it. Have I ever gotten to that point? No, I never gotten to that point. Have I gotten mad? Yeah, I've gotten mad, especially if I felt like somebody was purposely trying to hurt me. Yeah, I'm going to get mad, but those have been few and far between incidents, right? But like, again, that level of confidence of being able to do that, I guess, is there. And I think that's a huge part of, I've had people come up to me and they're like, because of jiu-jitsu, I had the confidence to take that promotion, right? Because I was going to be in a room, now I was going to be in a room full of people that, are smarter than me or this or that. And it's like, well, no, they know more than you, but you're fine. You're there. Got offered this promotion for a reason.
Right.
Do it,
Right.
So,
and there's a lot to that. I mean, one of the things that you guys teach us in classes, I think one of the essential things is to be comfortable within an uncomfortable situation. Nobody wants to be smashed.
No.
Right? I get smashed all the time.
Yeah.
Right? But, and I tell my kids the same thing. Like, you're in this environment, right? It's not the most comfortable environment for everybody, right? Depending on the situation or the position or the technique, whatever, right? However, there are a lot of things surrounding the sport that can be applied to daily life, whether it be school, whether it be work or whatever, right? So this might shock you.
Yeah.
But I'm not the most confident person in life. I'm not. I didn't grow up being that confident or whatever. Therefore, I want my kids to be confident, right? So therefore this. But to me, I've been able to apply some of the stuff to work.
Yeah.
I don't like public speaking. I don't, right?
Yeah,
English is my second language, so I hesitate a lot in general. So. But with my job, I've had to do a lot of presentations and be in front of people and all different ranks or whatever. And I remember, to me, one of the most terrifying things was my very first match and my very first competition ever as a white belt, because I didn't know what to do. Again, I'm not competitive, right? So I went through that experience. Now I take that experience into work. And I'm like, well, nothing's gonna be more terrifying than me about to get smashed by this first smash, right?
Yeah.
So I think the meeting's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like I use some of the stuff that, you know, it might help me calibrate, but yeah, it's one of those things. Like I was so uncomfortable, but I was able to handle it. You know, at some point the match was over, I handled it. I can take that same thing and apply it to work.
Yeah.
So it's kind of those things that you don't think about, but it being and doing jiu-jitsu will shape or reshape who you are.
Yeah.
At some point.
Make you think differently.
Yeah, for sure. So and what you said about, well, maybe I can take everybody here and it helps.
Yeah, if I have to.
I may have.
It's just an extreme example, but like I'm just saying, like there's that level of confidence that you yourself you could also bring it up to, and that level of confidence is sometimes what you need to get through some stuff, right?
Yeah,
like,
and it's not just like work. It can be like freaking PTO meeting at school, you know, like, and you're like, I can take you down.
Oh, those are the worst.
Or like a workout, like people who are like, and I can be like, oh, you don't know how to do jiu-jitsu, I can take you down. My form can be off on this plank, but I can do something else. You know what I mean?
One of my favorite things that I saw, and I'm not going to say anything, but remember, we had a parent going to a class, and the parent wanted to try whatever they learned in the class that we invited them to.
Okay.
And they were doing it on Ethan, but I don't want to do it with a child. Let me do it with you. Let me do it with an adult. And this was a man, and he was trying to take you down, and he couldn't. And I was watching it, and I was like, I should like record this to be like, this is the normal person, and this is the person that does jiu-jitsu. And no offense, but like you don't do jiu-jitsu to be competitive, right? But you still can't do anything to this person, right? Like that's like no shade on that guy, hilarious, but a little bit, I guess, right? But like, and he was nice. He wasn't like going out to prove. He just wanted to see if he, how it would do it with an adult. Not like he was trying to prove something, but like should just be like, it's a wake up call. Like you can't do anything here. Like it's not working. And it was a very simple like, you're just doing you literally were just stepping back when he was trying to take you down. And you're, why isn't this working? She knows what she's kind of doing. So yeah, I found that really. I still think of that every once in a while.
I remember that.
I found that funny.
What is up with this guy?
He's going really hard. You're like, ah. But it's when you walked in, were you to the school your first day or your first week or whatever? What were your impressions of the school? Like, because I remember my first day, but it's different because when I started, I was younger, single. I wanted to do it. So no matter what happened that day, I was going to do this. I was going to do this thing. Yeah. So again, mine is different. I didn't come in with like, I'm just going to kind of check it out, and see what's going on. Yeah. And like, no, I was like, I'm coming in. I don't care. Yeah. Like I'm doing this. So what was?
Well, I remember calling the gym and.
Sorry, I have allergies. I'm not sick. I have allergies.
I remember calling and I talked to Coach Patty and I went into the gym and I think Ethan and I just went to check it out. And I remember we went to the advanced class. So we saw like, I remember I saw Robbie like rolling and I think he was at Purple Belt and, like all these guys just like on the mat. I'm like, what's happening here? And I'm like trying to tell Ethan, this is great. Because I think we had gone to Key Martial Arts too to like check their program. Yeah. So we went from that to like guys just like rolling. I'm like, this is great.
It's okay. It's normal. It's normal.
But I remember Coach Patty just like came up to us and like introduced herself. And I think we were just like talking a little bit about what was bringing me in there and stuff like that. So right off the start, it was like that, kind of one-on-one, try to, understand and introduce yourself. So trying to engage, right? So that seemed a little bit more, trying to put me a little bit more at ease
Sure, yeah.
Right? I mean, mind you, I've never done any sports other than like PE class at school. Okay, so I'm going into this
Right.
at 34 when people are shying away from physical.
So you didn't play any sports?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. So that would explain a lot. Yeah, so, 34, mom of two, barely, with asthma and all the other stuff.
You have asthma?
I do.
Really?
I do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's bad.
I never see it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, sometimes I just feel like,
Yeah.
oh, she's out of shape.
Yeah, that too.
Well, I just figured, I'm like, she hasn't been in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Or something. Like before, I was like, she's been in a couple weeks, she's fine.
Yeah, so.
I didn't know that. Now I know.
Now
I didn't
you
know. Holy cow.
That's
Wow.
on camera.
My bad. My bad.
And here I thought you were just pushing me to be better.
Get better. Get back in here. I'm dying. I don't care. No, I know.
I mean, it's been 8 years, but it's good. At least now you know.
Yeah, I don't get in people's personal lives.
Okay. No, but yeah, so it was interesting. And I remember walking out of the gym and asking Ethan, so do you want to give it a go? He's like, yeah, that's fine. And then the next class, being me, I went into the wrong class. And I remember, because I went to the advanced class
boy.
as opposed to the beginner. So
Sure,
I just
yeah.
went back around and back into my car. I'm like, oh my God, I messed it up, right? But to me, again, going in there as a grown up, there's a lot of anxiety and a lot
absolutely.
of, I'm already off, I don't know a lot of the people there. I think the first person that I started talking to was Jenny, because she was helping me.
Jenny Rowe?
Yeah, Jenny Rowe.
Okay.
Because she was helping me, like, doing the standing opening or whatever. So, but I had a goal in mind, right?
Yeah.
I knew that it was just learning self-defense,
Okay.
right? So to me, it wasn't. I knew that it might not have been like as enjoyable of an experience as other people who are like, yeah, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna compete.
Yeah.
It was a different situation, right?
Yeah.
I have a lot of reservations and stuff like that. So my beginning was a little bit more filled with a little bit of anxiety.
That's normal.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I'm still here 8 years later. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There's still a little bit of anxiety, but that's just because it's me. I think it's just.
It's actually pretty normal when you doing jiu-jitsu that you still get anxiety before class.
Oh, that's good.
I think it's normal. No, I've heard
that's good.
I've heard of like in other people, other people talking in other, like, whenever I listen to podcasts or anything or any other stuff like that. I don't listen to any jiu-jitsu podcasts, to be honest with you. But like when I hear like clips of even other like higher level people competing when they're talking about coming up, or if I do catch a jiu-jitsu like podcast coming through, they do the same thing. They say the same thing. They're like, man, I used to get anxiety all the time going to class. Mm-hmm. And they're like, why? They're like, we don't know. We just do. It's just one of those things. It's either like excitement. They would say there was anxiety, excitement because you don't know, learn something new. You might, this and that. Maybe the class might be a little harder today, or might not. It's like almost the unknown a lot of the times.
Yeah.
With people, not that they don't know what's going to happen in class. It's how are they going to perform on that day? How they're going to be? Maybe they had like a bad day at work or something like that, right? Like they don't. It's what I'm trying to say. It's common. It's still common to, even after a few years of doing jiu-jitsu, to still have that anxiety to come into class. I'll get it sometimes too. Is what I'm like, especially when I'm like, well, mine's more of excitement. I guess mine's more of excitement. When I'm like, oh man, this is the start of this that I've been wanting to cover. I get really excited and I get really pumped up and I'm like, but then I'm like, wait, I got to calm myself down because I know that I have a lot of flaws. But one of the biggest feedback that I've gotten as an instructor is I talk too fast. Okay. And I'm not talking fast to get through it. I'm talking fast because I'm like, oh man, we got to do it,
Yeah. It's exciting.
So I try to slow it down. So I'm like, oh man, now I got to slow it down. I'm like, okay. But it's normal.
Okay.
It's normal. It's okay.
Okay.
It's normal. It's okay.
That's
What's kept you coming then? Besides like the acquisition of a skill, like learning something.
I think for me coming here, the acquisition of a skill, This is kind of like my main workout, right? So
Yeah.
this is what's going to help me, stay active, although I break down a lot. But also, I mean, for me to keep coming to this particular gym, I think it's just, some of the bonds that you start creating with people, right? And I think a lot of us will say the same thing, that it's the environment here, very family driven, pretty much everybody,
Yeah.
even when you roll, you start understanding how they roll,
Right.
right? Or, if you have a partner that's coming here, you really want to go in. I mean, if Jenny Roll was to come here, I'd be like, yeah, Jenny, I'm going to be in class just for Jenny. But yeah, I think it's that environment that keeps you kind of going and keeps you wanting to improve on things, right?
Okay.
And now also because I'm helping with the kids,
Yeah.
that's another motivator. My kids are my motivator, because if I don't come, they're gonna try to not come.
They get lazy.
Yeah, so then it's like a vicious cycle, and
Right.
so we keep each other accountable too. But I think I'm at a point where, I want to continue to fine tune some of the things that I know I'm, not great at, like my stand-up work, right?
Sure, yeah.
I'm not great at takedowns,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I know that. I've identified it, so I started working with, when Nefeli did the intensive,
Yeah.
like the 4 class.
That's right. Yeah.
So that was great. And I think I'm at a point where I'm able to identify what my shortcomings are and try to like work on them a little bit more, or, because my cardio also sucks.
Everybody's
you
does.
know,
Everybody's does it at a certain
maybe
point.
maybe I'm gonna go into the gym and try to get 2 rounds, 3 rounds, one extra round than the time before.
Sure, yeah.
Kind of like what you mentioned earlier, I think too. So it's a combination. It's trying to fine tune some of the stuff that I need to work on, and also just the environment that keeps pulling you in. Like if you're in a room with good people, you're gonna want to keep
You want to
going.
go back in, yeah.
You know what I mean? And see what if Rosemary is here today, maybe not. Or whoever. So it's cool. It provides a good environment to continue to thrive, continue to grow. And yeah, I find that interesting, that I'm at a point where I'm starting to realize and see what I need to work on.
Yeah.
Before it was a lot of
You need to work on
going
everything.
through, and going through the motions.
Yeah.
Right. And but now it's more like I'm gonna maybe learn a little bit more on this so I can maybe try it. Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
kind of like doing like the full circle type of thing. So
So you're always working on, so you're always, so you've identified, now you've gotten to the point where you're identifying weaknesses.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I got to start working on this stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes with people like that, that's a key thing, I think, in jiu-jitsu, where like, sometimes it happens sooner, sometimes it happens later, but it's going to happen at a certain point. And depending on when it happens, I've seen attitude change with people. If it happens sooner, they're like, oh, okay, man, I really suck at this. I didn't realize how much I sucked. Like, or let me go do it. But when it happens later, I hope that it becomes like, all right, I'm going to work on this. Sometimes they're just like, I'm not going to work on that, man. Nah, I'm good. I've made it this far without addressing that. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
And then what happens, this is usually with competitors, what happens is they keep getting themselves getting put in those positions of weakness. Right? So, and then they suck. They lose, or, the results not is what they want. And I'm like, but they're like, no. And they double down on not doing it. And I've seen it, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you can't tell me. Then they get defensive. You can't tell me what to do. I've been doing this and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's why I don't give, like, that's why outside of the gym, outside of the school, I don't give anyone advice in jiu-jitsu, because I've had that where I've been like, try to help. I'm like, hey man, maybe you should, you know what you're talking about. I'm this, I'm that. And I'm like, okay.
Cool.
Sounds good, man.
Cool.
And I've
I'll
had,
figure
and
out.
not even that, but like other places too. Like in other parts of not just jiu-jitsu, but other parts where again, it translates, right? Like I'm like, hey man, like for example, I just had an incident of something like that. And I got blamed for whatever. And I was like, okay, yep, my fault. And I apologize. You know what? My fault. I apologize. Yeah, it's my fault.
Yeah.
I don't I, I, I don't want to waste my energy because I know what happens. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not very good at this, what we were doing. You don't realize it. And now I know you're not very good at it.
Yeah.
Before I thought you just made a mistake and I just wanted to help you.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, oh, this goes beyond that. That you're not very good. And it's not,
Yeah.
it wasn't jujitsu, it was something else. It's like, oh, you're not very good at this.
Like in
You're not
life.
very good at this, and you're gonna like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say anything. Next time I see you, you make the same mistake, I'll be like, keep going, man.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Yeah.
You know, but
Just go for the weak side.
yeah, just keep doing that. But yeah, that's interesting how like you have then. Does that translate when you're working? Like if you're working on, you're like, oh, I identified something I'm not very good at. Does that have you
Like a work, or like here?
something? No work something outside of jiu-jitsu.
I guess. I mean, yeah, I think so. I think it's just like a mindset change all around. Now, whether I want to do it like for work, that's a different story, right? But yeah, like I've realized, like man, like I'm really bad at being patient right now.
Yeah.
And you learn that from teaching other kids.
Yeah.
You can't just snap at kids that are not your own.
Yeah. Well,
Right? And then you just like take it back a little bit, kind of like recenter yourself and trying to deliver the message again in a different way so they can get it.
sure.
Right? So that's another thing that I've been kind of like working on, allegedly, with my kids. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely situations where I've been like, I really need to work on this and just try to focus on that particular
Sure. Yeah.
thing to improve. Because I feel like that's another thing. I mean, it's not only defeat in competition, right, that you can face, but if you're not turning in something on time, that's another way of defeat.
Yeah.
You want to deal with that? No,
Yeah,
right? You're
yeah,
going to
yeah.
want to like kind of like go full speed ahead and get to that point to reach your goal and be done with that, right? So I guess it definitely applies to different aspects.
How many times have you competed?
I think it was 3.
3.
I think it was 3.
Right.
Yeah.
I always say 99% of the jiu-jitsu population don't compete.
Okay.
I don't expect them to compete ever, right? Mm-hmm. You've done it enough, I guess, right? Like there's always that old adage, you got to do it at least once. You've done it, you've tripled it, right? Mm-hmm. Do you recommend competing for people? Would something like that? Not me, because I do, but would you, honestly? Do you like?
Would I recommend it? I think so. Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps you understand.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something about being able to tell people something and have the foundation to tell people something.
Okay.
What I mean
okay.
by that
Yeah.
I can't push my kid or Bella to be like, you need to compete so you can, see this, and this if I didn't go through that.
Yeah.
So I think it provides, and I know you guys bring a lot of insight too. I know Nefeli does with the kids and as a way to motivate them.
She has a unique perspective because she's gone. I mean, she started judo when she was a child, like a small child.
Right.
So she understands like what these kids go through, what they shouldn't go through. Not that she did it because I don't think her dad was like. I don't think her dad was. Her dad, knowing her dad, he's not the type of. I don't think he's the type of guy that would be like, you need to do this. No, it's not that. It's so. Unfortunately, that's what happens with coaches, right? Like they're like, you got to compete. No, you don't. It's a fucking 4-year-old. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
But sorry, I cut you off.
No. I was gonna say like, whenever Nefeli tells the kid, and I'm so lucky and so grateful that I get to see her like do this with kids. I mean, she's had experience as coach and done this for years, like you mentioned. So for me to like be able to witness that kind of stuff is really enriching. But whenever she says that to kids, it's like, that's a great way for you to like get some practice and try with other people and stuff like that. And there's so much truth to that. And same thing for adults too. Like if you really, or even Ethan, 4 years ago or whatever, he told me, this is a great way to see where you stand with other people.
Yeah.
So there's something about, actually being in a competition that you won't understand until you are part of the competition. Like the nerves that hit you beforehand, how to really warm up before your first match. I remember, my first match was crap, right? And I remember you were on the sideline and you're like, well, now you're warmed up, and ready for the next one, right? So it's all those things that kind of shape you more as part of the community or being part of the sport. So I would definitely recommend at least doing it once so you understand your partners too here, right? Those who are competing, what they're trying to do, what they're going through, what they've gone through. How can you be a better partner? Because now I know, for example, sometimes all you need is somebody to help you warm up before a match, right? Do your guard openings and whatever. But you don't really know that small thing until you do it, right? You don't know the craziness that happens. You don't know how hard it is for somebody to maybe hear the coach while they're sparring, right? Unless you are there, So there's a lot that happens in a competition that I think people would benefit from just by participating once. And at that point, you make a better decision too, whether you really want to be a competitor or not. Whether you have the motivation, whether your priority is different in life. Maybe you're not a big competitor like me, for example, right? But you kind of have to go through that to make educated decisions.
You're getting more experience.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's a lot of we have somebody here who she prepped, she competed, and after she's like, not for me.
Yeah.
Did it once, but I get it.
Yeah, she can say that.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get what you guys are going through and what and that's and like you said, I like what you said. You can't tell people to do something without you doing it yourself. And that's such a huge thing, and like, you know what I mean? That's such a huge thing. I think with anything, it's like I've had people tell me to do certain things, but they never did it themselves, and it's like I think that's so, I guess, hypocritical. Of people like, oh, you should be doing this. Did you do it? Well, no, and that's why I don't give advice on people I don't give them advice on anything that I haven't done themselves.
Yeah.
If I do give them something, I'm like, you can try it. I've never done it, but I've heard, good success with doing X, Y, Z. Again, I don't know. So sorry.
Yeah.
But I just, without having good conscience, being like, you should do this without me actually trying it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a jerk.
No, for sure.
Like that's just me though. Like, I don't know. That was good. I'm glad that I thought I thought everybody else does, but I'm glad that you had those experiences for you to kind of be like, yeah, man, like this is what happens. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, and even for the kids too. Like I feel like kids, and I apologize if my conversation is very like kid centric, right?
It's fine.
But you don't realize how much of an example you set out there, or like for kids, and kids look up to you in general. Like if you're in this environment, if you're a coach or whatever, it's important for you to like be able to give that example to kids, and be like, you can tell the kid, you need to compete just so you can continue. No, and you need to be able to also sympathize and empathize with the kids and the feelings, right? And be like, it's okay. I've done it. I know what it takes. I know this is what's going to happen or whatever. Kind of help them also go through that if they even want to have the experience.
We've had some good parents who maybe they don't train in jiu-jitsu and they've never done, but sometimes they've done something that required competition, whether, you know, football, basketball, golf, whatever. And if that parent, not that it's not if they were good at it, it was their perspective of it, right? It also comes from confidence with the parents too. Like, sorry, but I look around and I go to these competitions and I look at these parents and they're just yelling at these kids, and I'm like,
yeah,
get your fat ass in there. You know what I mean? And it's usually these huge people who, you know, always have the same story. Oh, I used to do this in high school. Well, that was like 40 years ago, bro. Like, but we also here we have good parents where they're like, not all the parents train with us, but the ones that whose kids do compete, they have a great perspective, and it comes from like just supporting their kid. You know what I'm saying? Like just supporting your child and like just doing that. Like you don't. I had a parent one time. Like we had a parent one time, and he's no longer here because he. I don't know if it was supportive was the right word. It was more like, whatever. I don't want. I'll say my opinion. I'll say my opinion, but it wasn't. It was an issue about the setup here at the school. And I said, no, this is we do it for this reason. So what the setup is, we have their gym area, we have a lobby. Nobody's allowed to go into the mat area unless you're an instructor or somebody who is waiting for the next class. Parents, everybody, they sit in the lobby. They can watch through. We have TV set up with cameras. They can watch their kid. Some parents have an issue with that, and I always ask them why. We're like, well, we want to support them. I'm like, you are supporting them. You're bringing them here. Talk to them after class.
Yeah.
You know, what you learned today, what you do, you know, how was it? Talk to the coaches. How's my kid doing? Or, you know, we get feedback anyway, but like you're supporting them there. They just want to be there so they can distract the kid, make sure that their kid is not, and it becomes a distraction. And I'm sorry, it does. And I will say this to anybody's face, I do not care. You are a distraction to your child. And the reason you're a distraction to your child is because you want your child to be a perfect angel. Your child is not a perfect angel. No child's a perfect angel. And they're gonna lose focus for like a few seconds. And that's okay because they're kids. It happens to adults.
Yeah.
And what happens is I give this scenario, and it's true. The kid goes like this. We're teaching. We don't notice that. We try to as much as we can, but we don't. It's a simple look. Well, you're as a parent, you're only focusing on your kid. You don't care about the other kids that are in class. You're only focusing on your kid. Now it becomes, hey, pay attention. Well, now you just screamed out to your kid. You distracted me. Now you're being disrespectful to me because I'm teaching a class, because I'm not going to your work and yelling, you know, things. But now your child got in trouble.
Yeah.
He's looking this way. The instructor looks, okay, you drew attention to your kid. Now he is going to get in trouble, or she's going to get in trouble. So now your kid's getting in trouble by 1, 2, right? Now he's getting in trouble at 2 places. Why would a kid want to come back if all they do is get in trouble at the place? Yeah. Not just once, they're getting in trouble twice by me, the instructor, and then the parent. Why would, as a child, I don't want to go back there. I'm getting yelled at. I just want to be at home. So for us to eliminate that, you know, and like, just sit over there. Like, you gotta go over there.
And the kids do get a little anxious too when the parents are there, and they're like, you can see them like when we're like, especially the little ones, right, during the tryouts or whatever, the trials, and you can see it, like they're looking at their parents, like looking for approval, right? Like, look, I'm doing this. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? You know, and I get it. Like, for some of them, they're with their parents all the time, so it's hard to kind of break away from that. But at the same time, it's hard. It's hard for the kid too to be able to be at the same level as the other kids. They're already behind because of you know, the curriculum or whatever. So it does add a little bit of anxiety to the kids for sure. Like I don't even, when my kids are doing their stuff, like I don't even want to look. You know what I mean? Like, it just gives me anxiety, and I'll be one of those parents that I go, get your head out of there or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But I know that sometimes it's not my place to say anything, but
You got to let them fail.
yeah.
And we had 2 parents back in the day, and their sons went to competition. They won, they lost, and literally the dad's like, "Don't worry, you'll be fine," blah blah blah. And then talking to him, he was just like, "I just want my kid to fail. I just want to see what happens when he fails." Because he admitted he's like, I provided a good life for him. Me and the mom, we do well. We've provided a good, comfortable life for them. He was like, me and my wife didn't. Like, we were struggling, coming up, whatever.
Yeah.
But he was like, I want to see my kid fail.
Yeah.
I want to see how he can handle it. But then I want to help him handle it.
Yeah.
I was like, you're the best person I've ever met in my life.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah. Can I hug you? Unfortunately, he moved.
Oh, man.
He moved, but I still kind of look at them through Facebook. I don't think he's on it anymore, but his kids, I think, might have become like a decent football player. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't continue with jiu-jitsu. He just hopefully took the lessons of jiu-jitsu and just did something else, right? And like he's doing it, but but he's still playing a sport and he's still failing. So now he's learned, like, okay, when you keep going, you know how to deal with it and just keep moving. You just can't you can't protect your kids. Your kids are going to fail. If you protect your kids, later in life you're gonna have what's gonna happen is you're gonna have a guy that's living in your basement that doesn't want to do anything. You know what I mean? Like, no offense to people who are living in the basement, I guess, but like, but I'm saying, like, you know what I mean? Like those people, like, oh, it's okay, don't talk to him like that's like he's 30.
Yeah.
You should probably not defend him anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. No.
Kind of a weird thing, but what? So, about to wrap up here. What? Man, what was the question? I had an actual legit question for you.
Ooh, now I want to know.
No, we already said we know what kept you going.
Yeah.
Do you any advice for people if they want to start or thinking about starting or et cetera, et cetera? Oh, I got a question. After that, I got another.
After that one?
Yeah.
Okay. My advice to people is just give it a try. I mean, again, I started over 30, no sports background, nothing. Just like a mom, but just give it a try. I think it's going to help you feel empowered and a little bit more in control of what you can control, which is other people, right? But you can be a little bit more prepared and start becoming more aware of, those people and stuff like that. And if you're a parent, I think it's such a great tool for you to be able to, also do that with your kids, because there's bonds that form, there's accountability, right?
Yeah.
There's self-confidence that builds up for parents and kids. So I would say it doesn't matter how old the person is, or obviously, physicality, or, any of that stuff. I think it's just a great way to like be a little bit more active and feel a little bit more confident in life. Because I mean, you always have that, you'll be walking around, be like, I can choke that person out. You know what I mean? So I think it definitely helps. So just go ahead and do it. I mean, I did it, and I'm still doing it. Barely, but I'm still doing it.
8 years later.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted to ask you, because I always think I was always curious, because I'm not. How are you? So you're married, 2 kids, full-time job. Your kids are not just jiu-jitsu. They do other activities.
Correct.
Ethan.
Marching band.
Bella, dance.
Dance, and she was doing ice skating, but I guess she's not doing it.
How do you, okay, so how did you balance that?
Barely. Well, I'm lucky enough that my husband, Kevin, he's supportive.
Sure.
He doesn't do jiu-jitsu. Yeah. It's one of those things. It's one of the people that I cannot convince to do it. But he is very involved. So I think we have been able to kind of do the divide and conquer.
Okay.
He knows that that Ethan is working here, so he's a legit employee,
Yeah.
right? So he needs to be here. I come and help with the kids as well, so he knows that we'll be gone for big chunks of the day. So then he helps with Bella and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of divide and conquer. My current job has the flexibility because I had earlier hours.
Okay.
So I could be there for the kids and, be here on time for the classes and stuff like that. So there's a lot of logistical efforts that happen behind the scenes for sure. And, we do the markets too, on the weekend.
You also, again, I forgot to mention, you also have your own small business.
Right. So trying to run that. So, I think you find a groove. You make it work somehow, whether it's later nights, earlier days, maybe you skip some meetings at school or forget about them and then just do something else instead. But I think it takes coordination as a family. Now that Ethan is going to start driving soon. I mean, when he gets his license, and he's going to be able to help more, so we're banking on that as well.
Nice.
So it's a big effort, but we're all in it.
Good.
Together. So
yeah, you got to be in it together. For sure.
Yeah. So it's we're staying afloat.
What is all right? Yeah, I was curious. I wanted to know like how you guys are balancing everything, because I know you for sure legit are super busy. Like I know the kids are in other activities, and I just was curious on how you balance that, because sometimes people are like, I'm really busy. I'm like, bro, you're just sitting on the couch for like 3 hours. What? You're not busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But it can be done.
You go to farmers markets every weekend. What's the name of it?
The name of my small business of handmade accessories and jewelries is called Created by M.
Okay.
So, and we're at the farmers market in Mundelein all the way through the end of this month.
Nice.
And then I have my Instagram under the same name, and Facebook and Etsy, and
perfect.
Trying to hustle on this.
Yeah.
Nowadays you gotta hustle, right?
Yeah, you gotta respect it. All right, cool. Well, that's it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well,
hopefully I didn't just rumble too much. Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit. All right. See ya.
All right. Thank you. Bye.